Hi everyone, I'm Matteo Collina, and today we are going to talk about the Model Context Protocol and how to implement scalable servers using Node.js. So let's jump into it. I am a co-founder and CTO of a startup called Platformatic. I am also the chair of the Node.js Technical Steering Committee, board member of both OpenJS and GraphQL Foundation, as well as created a lot of open source that you are probably using today. What? Well, 30 billion downloads last year, this year probably 45 or something. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for all your appreciation, okay? My donation box is there. No, I'm joking, okay? Today, we're going to talk about the Model Context Protocol, or in other terms, how AI interact with the digital world. In fact, AI systems, typically large language models, receive some text as input and transform it into some text as output. So how can those systems talk to API, use tool, modify things? To be honest, I have a background in the Internet of Things from a long time ago. And this also means that, if I can interact with the digital world, I can interact with the physical world too. Wow, okay. How does it work? Well, there is a certain set of tools definitions that is added into the context of your AI systems so that they know what tools are available and how to call them. Wow, okay. How does it work? Well, let's take a look at what I define the Agentic Loop. Okay, the user typed the query, okay? AI received that request, then it decides that if it needs a tool or not, okay? If it needs to run a tool, then the AI system, the client, asks permission to the user, okay? If the user approves, the tool is executed, then the output is processed by the AI again. If the AI deems this good enough, okay? It generates the final response. If not, it repeats the loop. The user can also interact with it by adding more queries if it's not happy with the end result. Pretty great. Now, when we design those tools, okay, it's very important to know that the cost of tool invocation is high, okay? It's not an API call that lasts, a few milliseconds, okay? Typically, when we are talking about tool invocation, we talk about 10 seconds of user wait time. So the result is those are typically coarse-grained. Okay, they are relatively big chunk of functionality right now. They're not tiny little things that the AI system can compose, but they are a little bit bigger. This is part of the reason why it's you can not just port APIs one-on-one to MCP tools, okay? Note that there is MCP protocol is in fact a fully bidirectional protocol, and you can allow streaming notification updates and other streaming capabilities for MCP server-driven interactions, which is pretty cool, okay? Now, you need to know that there are a lot of type of MCP servers, and there is the things called STDIO, or standard input output. Typically, those are run locally on your own machine. They require npm, pip, docker to run, requires developers like you, okay? However, this is not covered in this talk, okay? This is not really interesting to me, to be honest. What is interesting is HTTP streaming ones. Okay, it's the remote ones. Those are running remotely on a server, interacting with data that is outside of your machine, and it can massively expand the functionality. Now, for this for those systems, authentication is the main challenge. Why it's a main challenge? Because you have a user and you want to access remote data. You want to do it securely with the route authorization and so on and so forth. And also you want these to be extremely simple to set up, because if it's not, then it will be a massive failure. Note that those are also stateful services, okay, because of those sockets and bidirectional connection. Wow. So in this talk, we are going to use Node.js. I am a Node.js developer, so here I am. So we're going to use Node.js. There is an official TypeScript SDK for a model context protocol. However, one of the problems that I've seen is that it maintains a lot of its, as I'm speaking, a lot of its state in memory. Okay, there is not really, it's really kept in memory. Okay, and it's very hard, therefore, to scale because it will require something like a sticky session, and also what happens if it crashes is a little bit of a problem. So a long time ago, I created this framework called Fastify, and therefore I set up to create a Fastify adapter for the model context protocol called @Platformatic/MCP. So you can test it out. You can find it on NPM, on GitHub, and so on and so forth. How does it work? Well, it extracts all that shared state, put all that shared state in the data in Redis or Valkey, and allows you to have multiple instances of the server, sharing the state. Pretty normal, stateless architecture, to be honest. So, how can we implement authentication? This is very important for. Everybody loves Auth0, right? I love Auth0. I've been loving Auth0 since the very beginning. Okay, being a fan. In a normal web integration with OAuth, okay, you have the browser, you have the identity provider, you have the application, and you have three entities, okay, in your system. If you don't have a browser, you have an app, okay? But it's not much different compared to this. The problem, though, in MCP is that you have a client, an AI system, or a client, Cloud Code, Claude, et cetera, okay? That system is user-specific, okay? And you cannot really put any shared secrets or credential in there. So a little bit of a problem, okay? How does it work, though? Well, it works using this specification called Dynamic Client Registration, RFC 7591. It allows us exactly to support this scenario. However, a lot of identity providers don't really fully support this, but Auth0 does, and it's amazing, okay? So let's take a look, okay? In fact, we want to set it up and do a little bit of an experiment, okay? So let's do that. So first, before doing any of that, we need to set it up our tenant correctly. Okay, here is my tenant. Okay, first of all, we need to go to settings and make sure that we have a few things that needs to be configured correctly. So the first thing, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is add a default audience. This is needed, unfortunately, because of some clients are not fully compatible, so you need to add this default audience setup. Okay, then you have a few other things that need to be configured, and under team setting advanced, you need to configure dynamic client registration and make sure that this is disabled, otherwise nothing would work. It's important, okay? But this hopefully in the future will be working correctly. It's due not to Auth0, but to compatibility with the AI systems, okay? Now, dynamic client registration needs to be turned on, okay? Then in APIs, you need to have an API here, and the API needs to have the JSON Web Token Profile, RFC 9060, and RS256 as a signing algorithm. Now, one more thing to do. For every connection that you want to set up, you have to do one change, and make it available as the primary connection to domain level. This is critical for domain claim registration. This is it's explained exactly what it is. Okay, that's it. So we have set it up. Perfect. Okay, now after with all those changes, now it's time to play with the demo gods and try to see if all of this works really. Okay, so first of all, we have our app. So now it's time to look at our server, and the server is here. We have we have our M file, and we start Fastify, and then we register our MCP plugin. Then you see we have a tool, and we say get user details, and we get the auth token. Okay. Otherwise, here we report that we want the auth config, and the auth config is specified here, which is a bunch of configurations for the Auth0 client. Okay, so we have done all of this. Okay, now we can start this up. Here we go. This is started. Okay. Now we need to, how do we interact with Cloud Code? We do, so we do MCP. Let me remove it first. Okay. Okay, here we go. And then we can add it again. Okay, so let's parse this. Claude MCP add -- transfer HTTP. It's an HTTP transport. And it says on this is connected. Now we can launch Claude. And here with MCP, as you can see, this is failed. And we need to run this thing. And we can authenticate. Okay, now this has been, it's a URL has been exposed. Okay. And now I need a window, and here we go. Okay. And we need to accept this thing. Okay. And this says authentication successful. This is a server provided by Cloud Code. This is running on a random port. Okay. So this is we can close this, and we can go back to our terminal, and then we can ask get the user details. You see, it's thinking. Ooh. Yeah. And now you can see that it has get the user details and and you see that you have all the details of our system, the audience, the user ID, the client ID, and so on, and how long the token will expire. Okay. Pretty great, right? Okay. We set it up and we made it work. Fantastic. Okay, so this is it. If you want to have a chat, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at matteo@platformatic.dev. And thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.